Yeah. Happy belated May Day, everybody.
Woo! Burn a car. Burn a car.
I didn't see any burned cars.
Throw some rocks.
I did go to Kreuzberg and run around as Yakety Sax played. And the police chased after us. 5,000 police from all around Germany, by the way.
Why?
I really hope they become a patient zero for coronavirus.
That's so cool.
I mean, part of the justification was we can't let this May Day thing happen. They're going to spread coronavirus.
Mm.
Wasn't there a case of was it here? Was it in the U.S.? There was a bunch of police officers getting coronavirus. I don't know. I feel that the level of stupidity could be either country because Germany has just proven to be Diet America during all this, but everyone's applauding them, which is kind of funny to me. But in terms of May Day fun news, I didn't really see all that much. Obviously, understandably, but big shout out, to the pimps in Pame for social distancing in front of the Greek Parliament.
That was cool.
In the most militaristic fucking way I've ever seen. That was so cool.
Everyone's always saying communists need to kind of speak in terms people can understand and be kind of open and welcoming. And finally, I feel accepted enough to join a demonstration where I don't have to get close to anybody. That's what I've always wanted.
And it looks cool. It looked cooler than a normal demonstration. Maybe out of, you were going to come out of out of coronavirus a little bit different than beforehand. Maybe this is the new way of demonstrating. Demonstrate you're in the middle of Red Square doing a gymnastics routine in front of Stalin in 1953.
Western communist parties can finally start doing the North Korean synchronized crowd shows. I don't know what to call them.
Exactly.
I feel like they'll just be co-opted into vaguely politically aware flash mobs, and it's going to become terrible.
Ew, fuck! You already ruined it for me. Fuck. I normally don't believe in the slippery slope argument, but that's definitely a case right there. I hate it now. God damn it!
It starts as the Pame protest, and then it just eventually ends up in I don't know, Denver, of a giant flash mob about getting the cheater out of the office, the damn Oval Office.
Hey. Welcome to your weekly Corner Späti. It is myself, Nick. I am finally leading us in. I have the courage on the internet to not have Kieran do it for me. I feel like a new man after taking a break last week, and I'm joined by Kieran.
Hey,
and Rob.
I'm not going to talk about Japan. I'm sorry.
Please don't talk about Japan. This is the wrong place. And Rob.
All right. Well, I am here to talk about Japan. All right, pull up a seat, y'all.
Yeah. And Yulia couldn't be with us this week, so I guess it's a grab bag around Europe again sort of week because that's all that we've been really able to do.
I mean, yeah, we effectively took a week off from paying attention to the news and decompressing, and I don't know. I've been zen meditating with my copy of the Grundgesetz out on my street to kind of loosen up. But so there's a bit of stuff we have to catch up on. So yeah. We're back, giving you the news. Don't go to any other news source. They're lying to you.
Well, that's where we should start, right? We're starting with a meta-analysis of the news because we're all this is real Ausländer hours here. We don't have any Germans around, so we can talk about the eternal question of the German. What's going on here? Someone else has been asking this question. Is literally every single newspaper, magazine in the U.S. I'm sure other countries, maybe you guys have had the same, but just friends and family are oh, it looks like things are great in Germany. You see what Angela Merkel is doing in Germany?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, there's just amazing testing going on.
Like what Kieran said, they're lying to you. They're just straight up lying to you. We are here to give you 100% unfiltered, true, corner Späti takes on how dumb this country is.
So the term fake news gets thrown around a lot, and I think, as many pointed out, fake news in its classic form represents a grand strategy from the newspapers, whether it's manufacturing consent. We're talking getting the U.S. to invade Iraq. We're talking way back in the blowing up of the Maine to justify the invasion of Cuba. Yeah, that's right. Those are all classical examples.
I'm still pissed at the Spanish.
I was watching, side note. I was watching the Cuba Libre story on Netflix. Only watched the first episode. Don't spoil it for me. It's just an 8-part documentary.
I want to see how this Cuba turns out.
On the history of Cuba, which is pretty good. They have like tons of different historians, who they interview, and like they do the thing where they stay neutral, but they still like do a good job of like showing all the different views. So when they get to the blowing up of the Maine, they have 3 different people, and the Cuban historians of course the U.S. blew it up themselves to justify invading Cuba. Like, what the fuck? Of course. And then I forget there was someone in the middle, maybe a U.S. historian who was like, yeah, we don't know. Maybe the Spanish blew it up by accident, and then something like that. And then they get to this German Swiss historian, and he's like, yeah, there's a lot of conspiracy theories, but it is very clear that there was probably some sort of, it was a complete accident, you know? I was like, that about summarizes it. I'm not making any claim to what happened, but I like when it reflects reality.
Yeah, just like on one little side note of that, it's like when you're taking history classes in the U.S. in comparison to another country, where it's you talk about the Gulf of Tonkin incident. And American historians are like, yeah, it probably was the North Vietnamese, and every other historian's like, oh yeah, it never happened. It even said in the fucking Pentagon Papers it never happened. So it's so fucking cool. And when you drop that on people, they're like, wait, what do you mean though? Gulf of Tonkin is was a thing. I'm like, no, it never actually happened. It was entirely fabricated just to justify nothing. And they're like, no, that's bullshit. You're lying to me. Well, yeah, back to us not lying to our listeners.
Well, that's the classical fake news.
Yeah.
But I think maybe just as bad, at least because of magnitude, is just international news is always you can't really verify what's going on. They're like, oh, I guess that's what's going on in Germany. I feel very informed. It's like Homer reading The Economist on the plane, you know?
Language barriers are still a real physical barrier to understanding what's happening in the
exactly.
world.
And do you trust this fucking slime ball reporter who works for some enormously rich and influential media empire to give you the truth?
When they're talking about Germany, yes, of course I do. Because I'm a doo-doo brained American who thinks that everything's perfect here because I read the New York Times.
But that dovetails perfectly with this, and I think this is especially true in social media. The social media has just created social media times the internet, just the general death of newspapers and how do they stay relevant in this, and how do they drive clicks? Every news story has to be oh, that's bad, or oh, that's nice, and then both are shareable in their own ways on Twitter, and so coronavirus perfectly distills into these two forms. So you can be oh, that country, coronavirus, that's bad. Or oh, Germany, they're doing well, that's nice. And then you just share it. It's literally swipe left, swipe right on the news.
I mean, yeah, I'm pretty sure that app existed, Tinder for the news. Yeah, so I guess we're going to try and parse what's happening in Germany because as Rob has stated, international media has kind of been tripping over their own dick to praise Germany.
I believe in Christian Drosten, by the way. He's become a nationwide sex symbol. I think he can become a worldwide sex symbol.
I have no idea who that is.
He's not even the Dr. Fauci of Germany because I don't know.
Oh, that guy.
I think he's just a guy.
Yeah.
Does he even have a government position?
No, he doesn't. He's just a guy.
Stage epidemiologist.
Yeah, but then everyone's just I want to get fucking dicked down by Christian Drosten. He's so good at science.
Okay, can I give my kind of general take about why talking about various countries' responses to coronavirus at the moment is kind of fucking dumb?
Yes,
because
no, this is not your place.
God damn it!
Right,
but no, we're just so fucking in the fray at the moment that we can't tell what's going on. Research into this kind of shit takes ages, and there's just like no consistency. Like, okay, so when people talked about comparing Germany and Italy, they were like, well, Italy has gone through like horrifying austerity with their healthcare service, which is true and possibly a factor, but that doesn't explain like France's like rapid cases and deaths, because France has had like routinely rated one of the best healthcare systems in the world. And then like it also doesn't explain how like a lot of Eastern Europe is kind of like doing okay at the moment. Like they haven't seen anything close to Italy, and they've got like garbage healthcare systems that have been raped since the 90s. So like, yeah, now they're talking like, I'm seeing some scientists talk about like air quality as like a factor, and I'm like, sure, yeah, maybe, whatever. I don't care at this point. But like, Germany did some good stuff. I know they stockpiled some essential equipment like very early on in January when like it first started in China, and they were like, oh, okay. So like, I know the UK ran out of like really basic shit like cotton swabs at some point, which Germany had been stockpiling ever since January. But like, beyond that, like, I don't know, when you look at like if you look at any country to the south or west of Germany, it looks like a fucking apocalypse. But then if you look at any country north and east of Germany, it's just like, yeah, those numbers are kind of comparable to Germany. So like, I have no fucking clue what's going on, and neither of these idiots.
Okay, all right, so we're gonna end up at the other end of this, realizing that the country that dealt with this the best has been Greece. Because miraculously they've only had like 150 deaths.
Interesting.
And no one knows why. Literally, there has been nothing special that has been done.
Nice. Oh god, yeah. And then like, yeah, I just don't know. I mean, I'm glad I'm in Germany and I'm not in Italy or Spain right now. That's all I can say.
I wish that you were in Greece.
I wish I was in Greece. Better food, better weather. Yeah, because like at the same time, I don't know. Like, so we had the three countries that tried the like cold herd immunity strategy, like the UK, the Netherlands, and Sweden. And like now the Netherlands and the UK are kind of blowing up, and Sweden, while not like having really terrible numbers, have like really bad numbers compared to the countries that locked down beside them, like Denmark and Norway. So I don't know. It's all over the fucking place, man. I don't know. I hate this.
All I know is that I want to do unspeakable things to Robert Koch.
Who is that person anyway? I don't know. What is this? What is with Germany naming like purely bureaucratic things after people? I don't understand.
Kieran, I'll have you know, he received the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine in 1905.
Well, Christ, I'm sure that all of that. I'm sure all of that information and hard work was put to great use by all the subsequent governments, which were all great and lovely. But yeah. But like, I just don't understand. It's so weird being like, I like when this crisis first hit, and I was like, oh, these numbers from the Robert Koch Institute. I was like, I don't want somebody weird private think tank telling me what to, it's an official. Why is it called this?
Robert Koch paid a lot of money to the German state to have it named after him. He's not a doctor, actually. He's just
it's like one of those
rich billionaire.
Yeah,
it's like one of those rich.
It's the lost Koch brother.
Yeah. But it's like it's like when reasonably well-off people in your neighborhood die and they buy a bench dedicated to themselves. Exactly. He like bought himself a disease control facility for the largest economy in Europe. Great, I love it.
It's like the thing that just like American universities. So you'll be in like the fucking like the Sam Houston building of fucking like Texas A&M or something like that or whatever. No, Sam Houston's actually a historical figure. Fuck, I don't know. Like your town's wealthiest person will have a building named after them. Like,
yeah.
ASU has like every building is like and everything is just named after a wealthy donor. Like the W.P. Carey School of Business is just W.P. Carey is just a rich dude in Arizona.
Nice.
It's cool.
He worked hard for that department.
I mean, yeah, I guess.
Oh god, but yeah, no, I also resent it as someone trying to learn German, I guess, because I'm just like, oh, an opportunity to learn a bunch of words that mean like disease control or something. Nope, it's a name, whatever.
I like to imagine Robert Koch is like Wyatt Koch, like his thing is are those shirts, and he runs like he's like the Steve Jobs of the shirt. Like every aspect of it is his like mind palace. And Robert Koch does the same thing, but just like designing masks and stuff. They're like, sir, we need way more funding. We don't have enough beds. And then he's like, behold, my latest mask artwork. Did you see that there's one woman in the UK who's like, she was like called out by the government because she has like 2,500 pounds worth of like N95 masks and she needs them for her art. And she just makes this like weird, like just paintings with like the masks glued on them.
No.
I think it's pretty cool.
Oh my god!
It's like that. It's like, did you guys ever have a friend who just like put googly eyes over everything when they like moved out? And they thought that it was like really clever and funny when they were in college.
If you mean draw a penis on everything, yes,
that's the equivalent to that. Yeah, sure. It's like that.
We didn't.
It's
we didn't have any googly eyes.
Yeah.
We didn't have your fancy Arizonan googly eyes.
It was actually a friend of mine who was in school in California at the time. So that's
yeah, that's West Coast stuff. Googly eyes.
Exactly. Yeah, that's just the fucking liberal elitism right there.
So
yeah, that's a North California is just controlled by big googly eye. There's like a googly eye plant in every town.
The rest of the fucking rest of the country has to draw dicks on everything, but they get googly eyes.
You guys want to talk about Sweden a bit as a case study in this situation? So Sweden's a good example because none of us live in Sweden, so we can see both sides of this this tug of war. Is it like again because it has to be one of two kinds of news? Is it Sweden? That's nice, or Sweden? That's bad. So it seems to me that the first narrative was Sweden. They're doing pretty well.
Yeah, I guess it was this weird thing of like the crisis hadn't really hit them yet because it started in Europe in like the kind of like ground zero of Europe is what we talked about with Riley was like basically ski resorts in the Alps because it was like it came to Europe at the end of like ski season and so everyone from Italy where this was breaking out had like ventured into Switzerland or Austria and then also people from Germany and stuff had also gone there. But I think in the Nordic countries you don't have to fly abroad to go skiing. I guess that's my only takeaway from this. But like yeah, the Nordic countries just weren't hit at all at this point. So it was like, oh, it seems cool. And Sweden had this kind of like ideological position of like, we're not going to do a lockdown.
That's just classic. Let Swedes be Swedes. Am I right?
Yeah. I think also a lot of this at the beginning was just very conflated with a American or English speaking desire to present Sweden as the like, the golden land, the land of milk and honey where everything works and it's fine.
Because there has to be somewhere. You can't face this like, just this like horror at the back of your head. Like you can't acknowledge it that like, wait, like there is no, land of milk and honey out there. There is no like, if we just were like Sweden or, if we were just like this or, we could learn a thing or two from here. There has to be some like, look on the positive, look on the bright side. There's this place. We're just doing it slightly wrong.
Yeah. So,
for a lot of liberals, that's still Germany. Like,
yeah, sure.
Like Sweden. I mean, doesn't have the same profile as Germany, but like up and comer in the like liberal. As there's the dynamics of like neoliberalism and progressivism that I was talking about. I do think Sweden can become, even though it is seen as more social democratic, like that's its thing. People could. I think that can be resurrected. As the Swedish government currently like starts to undermine that, the image of a social democratic state where like everyone's just nice and things work while there's a neoliberalization going on can be exported to other countries like the US where they're like, that's where liberals like they're just sane people running things in a good way and follow the rules. We should be like that.
Yeah, I think like the problem you also get with like US liberals and their view of Europe is they kind of tend to like flatten all of Europe together.
No, you wouldn't. What are you talking about?
So like we had that before when we did the episode on like the Irish election, and we got a couple of people being like, I did not know Ireland didn't have like a universal free healthcare.
Dan, so hold up a minute. Ireland's an island? It's surrounded by water?
And they speak German there. But yeah, like there's this kind of like vague European thing, because I think from the perspective of America and other countries, when talking about one specific policy, there's probably a European country that might have like a better or nicer version of that law, but it's not the same country. Like the NHS is pretty admirable, but like Ireland's labour rights are better than the UK's labour rights because we never had like Thatcher. And then you can be like, oh yeah, Sweden has pretty good like housing projects, but like they'll fucking murk you if you smoke weed. You will fucking die. I was like, oh yeah, Germany's got like they've got that whole Obamacare insurance thing figured out. I was like, yeah, but like about 10,000 people a year fall through the cracks, and it's like it's not good. And like also that whole thing happened when
that's the best thing you could say about Germany is that Germany has a horrible healthcare system.
I don't know what people see like I okay, from my perspective it's like we have Berlin where they're like willing to burn down a car if you raise the rent. It was like, that's nice from someone who's been pushed out of his country because of high rent prices. Yeah. I like that. But like at the same time you have I'm trying to think of what. Oh yeah, the other example of like American and also just English speaking world in general conflation of like all of Europe was when gay marriage was legalized in Germany, and the response was, I thought it was already legal in Germany. Yeah, so there's things like that. Oh, that's another good example of like gay marriage was like largely spearheaded by Southern Europe as like a thing when it first started happening. Like, yeah, there was the Netherlands, but then it was like Spain, Portugal, things like that. So yeah, like it's the whole problem of flattening Europe in general into like this one kind of blob that gets to be whatever you want it to be. The right in the States does this as well, of just like, oh, we'll find something bad in one European country and then expound it to the rest of it.
Gay healthcare.
Yes, exactly.
Yep. There's
but
lines and lines and lines because of gay Satanist healthcare in Europe.
The lines are so long they're going into the no-go zones. Oh no. If you join the line at the wrong time, you will be forcibly converted to Islam.
Hell yeah.
So going back to Sweden and kind of what happened though when everyone was kind of like reporting it's good that they aren't doing a lockdown. And before I go into too much the negative, I think there's one thing that Sweden might benefit from this, which is I guess they won't run the risk of like the creeping authoritarianism, because like one of the risks everyone's talking about is when the coronavirus is gone, like when we're out at the other side of this, then we all have to kind of just like hope that the authoritarian measures that have been put into place go away. Like, yeah,
in the middle of like maybe one of the biggest recessions like in world history.
Yeah, like it's the whole thing. Like one of the things I found out recently that kind of blew my mind. I don't know if any of you have been to the UK, but like whenever you go to like the UK, like especially if you land in the airports or if you're in London, you'll see the police like holding basically Uzis, like tiny machine guns. And as someone who comes from a place where there is like no armed police force, I'm just like, this is wild. And then I found out recently that was only brought in for the London Olympics and it was meant to go away as soon as it was done. But then when the London Olympics left, they were like, actually, we're just going to keep it. So I think Sweden might have protected itself from that, of just like, we've introduced all these measures and then we all have our fingers crossed that they'll go away afterwards. By not doing a lockdown or not doing anything, they might have prevented that. But still, this comes at like a weird cost, which is, first of all, they were all being very smug about this at the beginning.
Okay, like maybe one of the biggest exports of Corona culture, other than the political machinations, whatever, just like something that like a new thing that people can do is it is like a fucking nitrous boost for being smug. Like you can yell at people for not wearing their masks. You can yell at people for like just something that's like not, I don't know, not doing something, whatever you can dream up, and it's like fucking like not doing the corona, like it's their fault for spreading coronavirus or something.
I do like the reactions that I've had from people in the U-Bahn, because now, there's like Maskenpflicht required in stores and on the U-Bahn. And there was just like, on the very first day of it, there was a lady who was just like making a big deal that she had to wear it, and was just like, she didn't even have it on right. Like, her fucking nose was poking out. Like, like bullshit that it was like too warm for her, or whatever the fuck she was complaining about. And then she like threw a fit and like wanted everyone to fucking look at her. And then she took her mask off and was expecting like some fucking like applause from people that she was the one who fucking stood up against the mask inflation. Well, then everyone just ignored her because she's a fucking idiot. And if you see people like this in public, please bully them. Be mean to them. Cough in their face. I don't care what you do. Make them feel uncomfortable and make them like yeah. I mean, I know that then Rob just said don't do that, but I'm of very much of the other opinion, because it's something so fucking easy to do. And maybe this thing goes into like, the observations of then what's been going on in Germany since then, but Germans are the biggest fucking little babies on the face of the earth. Maybe just Europeans in general. I do not know how, like, Nazism spread in this country. Like, after seeing how big of pussies everyone is about fucking wearing a mask, for Christ's sake. Like, oh, God. I'm sorry.
So, well, if the party just comes back and says you don't have to wear masks, like, that's it. That's how it spread.
I guess, yeah. But
so here's the thing, Nick. I would bet later that day, when like this didn't work, like there wasn't like a big slow clap for her for taking off the mask. Because it's what's more important rather than like following this rule or that rule is the ability to be smug. So she was being smug about not wearing the mask. So she probably went home and was like, damn, that didn't work. And now she's just like a mask crusader. Like, where the fuck is your mask? Like going up to people. Like,
yeah.
cause, like that's
no.
Really
she
important.
kept going on. She kept going on about
be like, I'm cool.
Yeah, she kept going on about then how she didn't believe that coronavirus is real or whatever too after she just took the mask off. She was like making grunts and loud noises and then took the mask off and then was like, again, yeah, expecting the applause, and then kept going on about like, it's not even real, it's not even real. So she was having a soapbox moment that just no one recognized.
I just think it's a very flexible position that I'd like to see develop further.
I don't know.
Because then, like, that also feeds into what I think we were getting into with the Swedish people who are just like, yeah, man, we're just better, I guess. I don't know.
So, like, the one of the lines that was constantly coming out of like Swedish media was that Europe was having like a hysteria epidemic. That was their response, and like that wasn't like any kind of official response, but it was like a line that was coming up from like, kind of like more Swedish, like rag press and like entertainment media rather than like official news. And it's like, sure, maybe that's happening, but also a whole bunch of Italians have died. This is like a very weird and terribly glib thing for you to say, Swedish media. Fuck you. Because like, for anyone who doesn't know actually what's going on in Sweden is they haven't done a lockdown. Unlike what like Boris Johnson was doing at the beginning, they do have the officials in government saying, if you feel sick, stay the fuck home. If you can work from home, work from home. Like they are doing the same like advisory stuff that like every other government in Europe is doing, but they're not enforcing a lockdown. And I think also with that comes the shitty thing of like they aren't going to do any kind of redistributive measures after all of this. Like there's no, if a business isn't forced to close, then there isn't no like handout from the government to tide you over and shit. But so they're like having this kind of like, oh, everyone in Europe has kind of lost their mind. This is just like a slightly worse version of the flu. We can get through this, blah, blah, blah. There was also this thing, there's like this weird article, I think it was the New York Times who said this about like, the Swedes understand that their economy is tied to their social welfare state. So if the economy suffers, then the social welfare suffers. So they're like, it's your duty to go out and buy your fucking like cardamom Danish, like Zimschnecke, so that you can like support the economy and all the homeless people or something. It was a very strange kind of argument.
Well, that's a classic form of like just being able to rationalize whatever you're doing as like good.
But yeah, like in general though, Sweden is not in a good position to handle this. I found actually recently that the Heritage Foundation had a little lovely report in 2012 about Sweden. Yeah, good friends, the Heritage Foundation. So, okay, they found this and thought it was really good, but it's still an important piece of information. The Heritage Foundation, doing a report on European economies, found that Sweden was the... okay, here's the exact quote. No country has privatized and deregulated public services as fast as Sweden. Sweden has risen up the ranking faster than any developed economy since 1996. Basically, what there was like a right-wing government in power since 2006 to 2014 that like started selling off various parts of the healthcare like system, as well as like various hospitals in Stockholm and Helsingborg were all like sold to like the rich, like one of the richest families in Sweden, the Wellenberg family, who like are involved in healthcare and pharmaceuticals, just been buying hospitals and I think shuttering them or putting them into private hands, like private healthcare system. And basically since then there's been like a left-wing government that has left-wing nominally, like the Social Democrats center-left party of Sweden, have basically done nothing to reverse any of these cuts that happened then. And that's now, yeah,
that's big. Like for the Heritage Foundation to see you and be like, I've seen you deregulating, like much respect. Like that's something. The Heritage Foundation, like their DMs are full of like aspiring small, maybe like city governments that are like, hey, please, like I've been grinding so hard. I've been like selling off all of our public assets to like my friends and private companies. Like, please, like just a shout out Heritage Foundation, please. People are DMing them like, how many likes for you to like retweet me? And they're like,
I love, my favorite thing with the Heritage Foundation is the like yearly like world's freest countries, but it only goes by which economies are the freest. And
was the Heritage Foundation? Or no, I think it was Cato actually, where one of the factors was like, are you allowed to have sex with your cousin? And how free the state was.
No. Heritage Foundations is just strictly on economic freedom. And
I mean that is economic freedom, but all right.
And I remember one year, I forget, was it 2005 or 2006 or something like that? Iraq was like number one.
Nice. Hey, you know, math doesn't lie.
No, like it was. I mean, Iraq now is like very much no longer, holding that top spot. But it was always funny because Chile was always super high. I don't think Chile needs an intro of just how fucking just fucked that economy is. And I mean, Iraq was obviously number one there because you and all your best friends can form a PMC and can do whatever the fuck you want, like during that short period of time. Between the years of 2003 to like 2007 or whatever the fuck it was. Yeah, good shit. Good people shit. doing God's
much
work.
Respect to Sweden. Like finally, the hard work pays off.
Yeah, right. So at the beginning of the 90s, about like 50 field hospitals existed with 10,000 hospital beds, 900 intensive care, and like since then, I think the most recent survey was. Oh, hang on. Here's something actually for you. Here's a good piece of information. In the early 2000s, as a part of cuts, 7.4 million face masks were burnt in Sweden. 30% of those masks were fully functional. The remaining 70% just needed the filter replaced. So these are those like ones with the little like mechanical. Yeah. I can't remember the exact name for them, but fucking hell.
But why? Like, does that save money?
No, they're doing the whole fucking like Chanel or Louis Vuitton thing that in order to keep the price up, they burn all their like leftover inventory that doesn't sell because if you've ever noticed, there's no like clearance things. There's never have sales.
Yeah.
So that's what Sweden did, is that they're like, oh, these are so fucking valuable.
It's like a forest, and you have to burn the old so the new can grow. It's healthy.
Konbanwa, watashi wa Tony Soprano desu. From Anime Sopranos. when I'm not thinking that I've just quit and then being pulled back in, I like to donate $5 to Corner Späti. So does Ned. You can donate $5 every month and you will get 2 bonus episodes at the least, as well as a bunch of drawings. Oh, that's really good stuff. So does Ned. Data bio. I didn't watch enough of the show for reference material. Notice me, therapist senpai. So, what other stuff are we talking about? You went to some protests, Rob, right?
I have been to 2 anti-lockdown protests.
Nice.
Because I am well on my way. When I go to 10, then I get a free Grundgesetz.
I saw people leaving the Grundgesetz like in random parts. Like someone left them in my Edeka down the street from me, and I wanted like I mean, maybe it's because I come from, like, Rob and I are from a country that has maybe one of the dumbest constitutions in the world. But I do not understand this obsession with this dumb fucking document that is not that special. Germany's constitution is not that great. It's longer than other constitutions, but I get when Germans say to me, it's like, oh, well, our constitution is great because it came after Nazi Germany. It's like, yeah, and there's a bunch of like leftover laws from Nazi Germany still in it. So like, that's not a good sign. Or at least the U.S. is like, it was bad from the start. It can only get like, I don't know, like, fuck, I don't know.
I like the idea that Nick is just walking around Edeka doing some shopping, and someone comes up to him, maybe bumps into him by accident, and then like, oh, I'm sorry, and they're like, hey man, you look lost. Maybe you should try reading this, and just hands you a copy of the Constitution.
I would get so mad. I would. Oh god! Like
I saw a lot of those people when I was out and about, and much respect, because I'm sick of the like hip hop style meditating people who are listening to like deep trance music, 5-hour mixes. These kind of like lunch pail, meditate, no music. Copy of your favorite Grundgesetz in front of you. They're meditating about the real things, none of this bullshit like Buddhism or like, the problems of being and consciousness. No, a shitty, like tinged with the Nazi era laws, like, anti-communist constitution and a set of fundamental rights. That's the real shit, man.
That still just reminds me of like, I'm still very embarrassed about this. That Yulia and I went to the very first Unteilbar demonstration.
A lot of Unteilbar signs there, actually. Everyone's fighting over what it might mean.
I believe that. And like I said, I repent for my sins. I am sorry. I'm sorry that I went to one Unteilbar thing. To be very fair, I only went because it was an event, and I got drunk at it. I did not go for solidarity. I hope that is clear. But there was like the German Greens were there with a massive cutout of the Grundgesetz.
Like that's so sad. Instead of like Scabby the Rat, they just have like a 40-foot tall Grundgesetz.
Yeah, it was so pathetic. Again, like I said, I did not go because I thought it was a good protest. I went because a friend of ours had a music box that they were going around with, and I was getting free beer out of it. It was nice. I obviously know that it was a bad movement that a lot of good left-wing organizations did not take part in because it was so bad. Like for example, the Grey Wolves were allowed to take part in fucking Unteilbar.
Good job. Well, that's the Grey Wolves and the Greens have a lovely link, a lovely history.
In Sweden,
there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it all comes together.
If it makes you feel better, Nick, I did go to one. So like some Ende Gelände group. People I knew, they're like, yeah, there's going to be a protest. It was in Hamburg. And they're like, yeah, there's this protest, on Friday afternoon, this March. And I went and it was like a mixed group of like Ende Gelände and the Fridays for Future and people or stuff were there. So a lot of like, like high school aged or younger people. And I was walking and it was kind of a big group. And then they were stopped and then they did the Kundgebung. then all of a sudden, like everyone started getting on the ground, and I'm like, oh no, I'm in the middle of a die-in.
Oh
and
no!
I had to die in because I didn't want to be an asshole. So,
Oh God! All right,
I got died in on. I got fucking dabbed on by high schoolers.
I have to think that's how like the majority of die-ins work. It's just like social pressure.
Yeah.
And like it's just like one person there who wants to do it, and then the rest are just kind of like
the wave.
I guess everyone else is doing
it's
it.
It's like the wave at sports events. You never know how it starts. But
I've been trying to start die-ins at my when I go to a sporting event. I just lie on the ground and wait for everyone else to join me.
I do want us though, like I said in the beginning part of this episode, if we are going to have flash mob style things, have it be what Pame did in Greece. That's cool.
Yeah.
Got to make it look like a North Korean gymnastics, thing. Again,
about 500 union activists in Lisbon also did the same thing.
Exactly.
As Greece. Yeah.
Yeah. See, this is the future. You see what Southern Europe is nothing but good ideas. And fascism, but ignore the second part.
Nothing but good ideas, except for the bad ideas. Ignore those. Yeah. So yeah, you went to Rob. I want for anyone who didn't see your live stream, can you describe the like mood in the air, what people were doing at the first protest was like what Saturday last week?
Yeah, well, okay, so this is an ongoing thing. I want to share a little bit of the history and the players with you guys. But first, I will share my personal experience. So I saw, I think this week, like yesterday, we're recording this on Saturday, and there's actually another one today that I didn't go to. And I even heard when I was walking around yesterday, May Day, people were like, the police were like way more active. Like, everything was blocked off. They were like clearing a huge perimeter. And even some people who like came into town who were like this is their like Saturday afternoon, like outing. They're like coming in with a few beers and they're like, what's going on, man? Like we can't even do anything. And they're like, nah, man, you got to come back tomorrow, 30 minutes earlier. That's when the real party's going down. Like it's a secret warehouse party. So that was this is the fifth week. And last week was the fourth week, I believe. And the third week was when it really like got big in the news. And that's when I read about it and I was like, I'm kind of curious what's going on here. I live in Berlin. I can do a little shoe leather reporting. So I went in the fourth week. And basically, you wherever you are in many parts of the world, you probably have something similar going on. It takes different forms in different places, but it's a vaguely right wing. Okay, no. I'll start with, coronavirus is probably a hoax, according to them. That's the number one thing. No one there is wearing masks. Even the people who don't seem to be saying anything, like they're kind of just there with their bike, like chilling, hanging out. They're no masks.
I think Rob, it's fair to say that probably most people listening to this have seen the like Michigan protests, like the American ones. You can probably do a good compare and contrast there.
Dude, those protests have reached such a weird level that now they're just like holding signs in German that say "Arbeit macht frei."
Yeah, they are.
And I don't know, like what. I mean, I'm normally not one to say something that then like, damn, like the simulation's gotten crazy, but like, damn, the simulation has gotten very crazy right now.
I just have to hope that's like one of their teenage children who's like on TikTok, just like, I've got a good protest sign for you, Mom. And then like there is like a kind of like do it for the Vine kind of attitude going on there. That person who's holding up the Arbeit macht frei poster is like definitely being filmed by their teenage child just snickering away, being like, I'm looking good.
Well, the thing about it is that they actually like, so I don't know if you guys are very much aware of like the weird like Navy SEAL self-help books.
Okay.
Like the guy's name is Jocko something or whatever. He's really big with like just dudes who are like libertarian who just don't know dick about politics, and like Joe Rogan. Like it's that type of mind palace. Jordan Peterson, same mind palace. He has his whole thing is Arbeit macht frei, that like work sets you free, and I just think that they are just dumb and they don't know what they're saying, except for, of course, the person who writes it in German obviously does. But we were seeing that them beforehand, the signs of them being just like, oh yeah, work makes you free, work makes you free, work makes you free. And this is like, there are like Dennis Prager fucking PragerU videos about this shit. You know, that like not only is work a sense of fulfillment, but then, you know, it does like there's a liberating aspect of working. But no, I did not expect to see the next level of that. Which is like, oh yeah, but no fucking irony anymore, no fucking like sugarcoating it. We just want this.
I have 2 points. So first, we make fun of Germans a lot on this program. So I want to say something that is one of the most American things that is just mind-blowing. Americans love calling people Nazis, calling things Nazis, calling people Hitler, literally anything you can think of. Like, it didn't even, like, when I saw that, it didn't even faze me. Because there was another one with, like, a swastika on top of Nancy Pelosi, and I'm like, yeah, that's normal. Obama with a Hitler mustache. Like, it is one of the great American pastimes to just, like, call anything Hitler. They're like, I mean, it's a meme. They're like, damn, this is literally Hitler or whatever. Like, it is like, I honestly don't know how it compares to other countries, but like, I feel like in the US, you learn like a little bit in school and then just in popular consciousness, like everyone knows, like talks about the Holocaust or something. And like the Nazis, like, damn, they killed a lot of people, a lot of Jewish people.
Yeah.
And like, so everyone just uses that for their own ends.
It's because the US took the fucking L after every other time in history.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it does justify for a lot of sides, like it justifies like perfect interventionism. They're like, what if there's a Holocaust? We got to go.
Yeah.
That's why we're doing the Gulf of Tonkin.
You'll thank me later.
But honestly,
if we don't Tonkin this Gulf, then there might be a Holocaust. All of this makes sense. Does anyone else smell toast?
What is Samantha Powers on this? But like that is like, it's honestly just in the air. Like I understand people look at it and I'm sure they're like, a lot of these people are arch conservatives and would probably be enthusiastic participants in some kind of fascist project. But I can't quite call them Nazis because that's like just everyone does that. like on all sides. Like, I mean, Trump is Hitler.
It
Obama's
is so
Hitler.
weird though, just seeing people like unironically coming out though with a fucking, and not the Nancy Pelosi swastika ones, like people actually coming out with the fucking like Nazi like war flag.
Well, so I think that gets to my second point, which is we have a critical problem of everyone trying to be really epic. This is connected to the fact that too many people are online, too many boomers are online, and like you can't be epic online anymore. You can't like roast anybody. You can't like ratio some loser who has a bad take because like there will be like masses, like the fucking like I don't know, like the fucking orcs attacking Helm's Deep of like 65-year-old boomers calling you a Hitler for something on Twitter.
Yeah, yeah.
Like two, not only like way more than two can play at that game. And like, I do think this has bled over into reality where they're just, they're like, well, of course, I'll just put Abba and Mark Fry on my sign because it's more evocative than just like putting Hitler mustache on Chuck Schumer or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, God damn it. But
so all that said,
like,
yeah, you
yeah,
go.
but wait, just one thing, just to your thing about not like that the online thing is that you're absolutely right in that then I've been seeing Joey Salads posting more and more and more lately, and I totally forgot that all he does is gets dunked on Twitter, but then just it comes out the other end completely unscathed. You know, like you're right. Like it does. Like you cannot do that. You can post as many pictures as you want of fucking Joey Salads pissing in his own mouth and wearing a fucking Nazi uniform, and nothing will happen.
Which we all have in a folder in our desktop. Don't worry.
Yeah. Literally, like that photo is about as common as the pig pooping on balls.
It's a good balls
photo.
pic. I love that pic.
That's a classic.
If the masses,
Joey
if the
Salads
boomer
pissing
masses.
in his mouth.
If the MAGA like people on Twitter are like the orcs, Joey Salads is like that one Uruk-hai that Aragorn keeps firing the arrows at, and he's just like, keeps running. And he fucking gets your ass.
Nothing will harm him.
So anyway, that was a long digression, but I think that like the literally occupying like the state house, like holding guns, and especially the like liberate X, it's a much more aggressive tone, I think. Even if it's just like 200 people and what the fuck are they going to do? I understand all that. But the tone is much more aggressive than the German protests. Because I think the German protests, it's similarly in the sense that like there's some people out there like Merkel or Bill Gates or something who are like imposing some coronavirus hoax on you for X, Y, and Z reason. Those general outlines are the same, but it's all very abstract. It's all very like, this is a dictatorship. This is the Ermächtigungsgesetz, so I guess they can also do the Nazi stuff. It's all very like, we must defend democracy, like this concept of democracy. Where I feel like in the US, it is more clearly just like, I'm protecting my guy Trump against your guy. Like, fuck you. Like, it's much more just like territorial. There's still a battle of ideas, if you will, going on on the Berlin streets.
Oh God.
So I need to mention it's at the Volksbühne in Berlin. For those of you who don't know, the Volksbühne is a very famous building, very famous theater. Was it built by the SPD? Maybe you know more, Nick. I don't know who built it, but it was famous because it was like the theater for the people. I mean, it's called the People's Theater. And I've never actually seen a show there, but like it doesn't have like luxury seating. It's designed so that all the seats are like good. And it's like, it was like when people talk about how the SPD in the late 1800s had like developing like a parallel society of culture and things for the working class, like the Volksbühne was an example of that. So it has this long, rich history. Now in Berlin, there are other kinds of, like left-wing theaters. I mean, Brecht, all that. But like the Volksbühne is the oldest symbol. I know recently, in like 2 or 3 years ago, there was a like Occupy the Volksbühne protest because of a change in leadership.
Oh yeah, because they were getting what's his name, the head of the he was a former head of some British museum who wanted to make it into like a modern theater thing.
Right, and, just like doing theater stuff.
God damn it, Yulia, why are you not on this episode? She knows all the details about that. But yeah. Yeah, so he wanted to make it into like some like internationalist, not internationalist in a good sense, but just like in like a touristy sort of weird thing, which Berlin already has enough of those dumb things. And the Volksbühne has a good relatively good left-wing history, I would say. So
I will say, but the reason it's in front of the Volksbühne isn't because of the current director. It's because a former director is part of this group, Demokratischer Widerstand, who called for the protests.
Are they related to Jungen Widerstand? Because that would be cool, but they're not.
Press F in the chat.
Oh, that'd be so cool. Fucking just like Maoist boxing clubs just fucking go to Volksbühne.
Oh God, yeah. So it's okay. So I need to ask Rob, because you made me Google this beforehand. But how the fuck is House Bartleby fucking related to any of this?
So when I first learned about it, I read about there was and so the first like I even tweeted a link to the Tagesspiegel article, and they talk about there's a QAnon person there, someone with the Trump 2020 sign.
Nice.
I will say, just parenthetically, like it was not very like, there were not like big groups of people like, yeah, we're the fucking Trump people and this is what we're gonna do. It was like maybe there was a good number of people doing their meditation. So again, they bring a nice blanket, sit cross-legged, and the blanket also serves, I think, to like social distance, so also that like taking up space thing. So you sit on your blanket. Some people drew in chalk a square around them. You sit and you meditate with a copy of the Grundgesetz in front of you. I didn't notice, but one of those guys even had this like neo-Nazi band shirt on. So I can't always pick up on those things in the moment because of my lack of German culture, but I was informed of that afterwards.
Jesus Christ.
So they were a solid number and they were spread all around. But of the people like standing, only like 5 to 10% actually like had a thing. Like they're sign about 5G, trying to start some chant. I did see a few people who like were like being carried away by cops and being very loud. And like there was like this one woman who was like kind of short with like glasses, being and like screaming something and being carried like towards the Volksbühne. And I just think like I'm sure she's some like alt-right influencer who I'm gonna like know like everything about within the next 2 years, and had that feeling like the beginning of a movie, like this character is important. There were people like that, but they were very like individual. And then most of the people were just kind of standing around, like no mask, maybe with their bike, just like, so who's going to say something? I'm just kind of hanging out here. anyone want to do the thing? So
I like the, I really like that they brought their bike with them.
Yeah. You know,
that's real, like, extreme German inconvenience at demonstrations is like, oh, I'm in a massive like 5,000 people. I'm gonna bring my bike with me. Oh, I hate those people so much. If if you go to a demonstration, don't bring your bike. Just just.
So I got distracted. Advice. So House Bartleby. Yes. So the people who organized this, and now another caveat I should say, is both weeks I was there, the area, and I don't think this was true in the first 3 weeks, but by the week 4 it was, the area immediately around the Volksbühne was blocked off. And I believe, I'm not 100% sure, I believe that there was a counter demonstration immediately around the Volksbühne, because there were signs about how like the Volksbühne is not yours to protest, leave no one behind, those kind of things. Nice. And so they kind of like took the immediate Volksbühne space, and then everyone was just in the street in front of the Volksbühne. So it was a little complicated.
Right.
Yeah. But again, so there's a group called Demokratischer Widerstand. They just seem to publish a newspaper. That's it. What exactly they believe in, I don't know. But definitely some of the
default position if they have a newspaper. Oh, God damn it!
You know what I just realized? Oh, what? This is the German version of the Resistance. Oh, that's so lame. Like, I mean,
wait, explain.
Just their name, their whole thing. These like well-to-do like left libs or whatever, and that it's just going to end up being just like there is like there is no ideology around it, and it's just the only thing that then I guess is different in the U.S. is that then the resistance is just being, taken by anyone who then is like, I'm with her, this and that, because it again, like, how perfect that neoliberalism is. It's just like its lack of ideology means it can like form into anything, and this is kind of like, in its lack of whatever the fuck it is, it's become like a weird neo-Nazi protest sort of thing.
Actually, Nick, I think you're exactly right, because now that I think about it, because what doesn't line up is but what doesn't line up are the cultural differences. But of course, like things take their local difference. So in the US, the great medium of the resistance is like, the Slate podcast.
Yeah.
Their Medium blog, their Lenny letter, whatever it might be. Like that is the great medium. Those are the great works of art of the resistance. In Germany, where there's this, maybe it's a little more, it's not as provincial, if you will, as the American style. In Germany, the resistance is like, we are doing great performance art here to resist.
It's so lame.
But it is the same energy.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the like German federal election in like October of 2026, where like all these people are angrily shouting on Twitter that we need to back the new like Green leader who has sexually assaulted the other new Green leader.
Kieran, do not speak these things into existence.
I can't help it. It's going to happen. I've seen
Kieran,
it.
It's Germany. Do you know how many Green leaders have fucking sexual assault allegations on them?
It's either none or a lot.
Yeah. That's another topic. That's
yeah. I don't know, and you're exactly right. It's either one or the other. The two.
You wouldn't ask unless the number was really high or really low.
There was like a. Okay, so it was obviously blown out of proportion by like, especially like their enemies, the right wing. But they're like, when the Greens were starting in the 70s, because they were like, hey, we're like the new kind of politics, anyone can join. There was a not insignificant group of like pro-pedophile, like, free love, man.
The New Left had that everywhere in it too. Like, let us not forget that like Sartre wrote extensively about how like there should be no age limit towards love and shit, or like not even love, fucking like just sexual intercourse. Like,
all right, but again, cultural relativism, that's the French Resistance. Come on.
I mean, like, it was everywhere. Like it, and I'm not saying it was then like. I'm not justifying it, or again, cultural relativism or whatever.
The Americans are like, I can't buy my lawn fertilizer. The French philosophers are like, I can't see my my boy lover that I keep trapped somewhere.
He's trapped in my other house, and I'm quarantined in this
Rob,
one.
Rob, remember Rome, Athens, Jerusalem. What do those all have in common? Boy love.
My a French philosopher, because you write down your excuse about like what you're doing, and he writes down like going to see my boy lover in my other in my warehouse, and the police are like, I'm sorry, that's not an essential reason.
Like, he really, like, the French philosopher just like spends, like about 2 hours getting from his Parisian like apartment to his lovely summer home on the like Riviera, all the while contaminating everyone in every village along the way with COVID-19, like resulting in thousands of deaths. And then as soon as he gets in the door, just like slumps down into his sofa and just exasperates like this long sign. It's like, fuck, I left my boy lover back in my prison apartment, and he does the whole thing again.
I know we've trashed on the media system, but there were very interesting investigations into like, in America, all the New Yorkers like fleeing and infecting countrysides, like about all of the Paris pedophiles infecting all of the like rural areas of France because they just left en masse when coronavirus started. I mean, it's honestly, it's not talked about enough.
Oh, that's what they're doing. That's exactly what's happening in Russia at the moment. It's just like everyone from Moscow and St. Petersburg are leaving to their like tiny shack that they have in their summer home in like a tiny village like 80 kilometers outside of any urban center, and like everyone's being so hostile to me. And then like the end of the report is just like, oh, by the way, this village just does not have a hospital, so if anything happens here, they're all fucking dead.
Okay, that was a tangent, but House Bartleby is what you asked about.
House Bartleby.
There was a segue, and it said House Bartleby, again, they're basically the same thing as Demokratische Widerstand. There's 3 names here to know. Anselm Lenz, he is a journalist. He wrote for Taz and Welt. I would encourage everyone to Google Anselm Lenz to see what he looks like, or Google House Bartleby, because then you see the whole cast.
Anselm Lenz has got really creepy vibe on it. I earlier I said in like one of the pictures I said he looked like an evil version of Rob, and I take that back. I'm seeing more pictures in other angles, and he looks less like Rob and more like a long lost Malfoy. If I'm going to do the Harry Potter reference,
yes, he looks like a mix of Draco Malfoy and Björn Höcke.
Like I'm looking forward to him playing the new Doctor Who. It's kind of like the vibe I get from him, especially in this one picture I see with a pencil in his mouth while holding another pencil. Yeah, and one of his eyebrows is raised.
He's the actually quite appropriately, he is the German Justin Murphy. Like he's just doing a photo shoot about how like, yeah, I'm trad now. Look how cool I look. That was a very niche joke. All right.
Yep.
If you know, you know. Okay, so he used to write for Taz and Welt, and like I said, he's like right-wing trad. I don't know. He's a great artist now or something. There's a former, this article says owner of the Volksbühne, but I thought he was a director, Hendrik Sodenkamp, and then an activist, Batseba Ndiaye. I've heard the least about her. I've just seen her name in this article. So those 3 are associated with both House Bartleby and Demokratische Widerstand. House Bartleby, I think we have to put this photo in the show notes, but they appear to just be incredibly pretentious group of friends.
I'll make that the cover photo on our new wonderful website, operationglad.io.
Yes, please. What do you guys think? Like they just appear to be.
Yeah, they like hang out in this like villa in Neukölln. Like there is nothing more pretentious in the city than that. Is that you get like you have some like piece of property, which they do, that is unobtainable by anyone. Like look at just like the things in like Rixdorf and whatnot. Like they're cute and quaint and this and that, and they're really old. But do not look up the prices of how much an apartment is. Like one of these things, they like you can't afford it. So they try to like they do this very Berlin thing of like, oh, we're in this cool area of town. They must have like some just flow of money that then like, or just someone's letting them use that building for whatever reason it is. They also hang out at Kona Park as like at those Is that what you were talking about earlier?
That's what I was talking about.
The restaurant underneath that then's also very like, well-to-do and posh, and it is very like, I don't know, gentrification to like the max of like, well-to-do libs who like just want to be in a cool area of Berlin and are ruining everything that they fucking touch. Like,
so I think I can describe the visually for kind of like an international audience, because
I described it for everyone who lives in Berlin. So
but like, so to get an idea of what these kind of like vibes these guys put out just visually alone, is they seem like the only people who listen to like those swing covers of pop songs, Postmodern Jukebox. The only people who listen to that. They all seem like they do that, because like there's a bunch of photos of them here and they're all like drinking wine and being sophisticated, but they're young, they can't do that. And like there's this one photo in sepia tone, and God, it's all very upsetting, because like as Rob said, there's like a weird kind of like trad vibe about it.
They all do. They look like people who all do like, they look like they do Lindy Hop, but they're not even like cool enough to actually learn how to dance.
They also look like to me the sense of, and again, I'm sorry, this is just going to be like a Berlin only sort of, vibe I'm giving you right now. But if you ever, again, perfect that they're a Neukölln thing, a Neukölln, what is it, Kunst thingy, Gemeinschaft. There's always like the sense of, if you go to like a cafe in Neukölln and you like see young people hanging outside and they're only talking about like the Frankfurter Schule and how they're like a fucking,
I hate when that happens.
And you know that when that you like you know exactly what I'm fucking talking about. Then it's these people who never got out of that fucking, them being 18 and wearing a turtleneck and saying how like they just really like Adorno just gets their soul.
Okay, that's interesting. I think you're onto something, because the House Bartleby, again, what are they
anti-Deutsch?
No,
fuck! God damn it!
Okay, hang on. Going back to the Postmodern Jukebox thing, I just found one of their official logos is like a very not Art Nouveau. What's the Chrysler building? What's that architectural style called?
Art Deco.
Art Deco. Yeah, they have a very Art Deco logo.
Nice. That's fucking sick, dude. Actually, I take it back. They're cool now. If you ever like, honestly, everyone who like thinks Great Gatsby's cool, you have to respect them.
Yeah,
there actually are a lot of 20s like what are they called, flapper parties or something, like that's a theme I've been invited to, a theme of party I've been invited to.
Oh no, they're not your real friends, Rob.
it was people I worked with. That it explains it at all.
Yeah. So what are they?
Okay.
What are they?
I don't know. They're just a like a Verein. They're just a group, and they say they're an interdisciplinary project. They're called the Center for like rejecting a career. They're against a growth and career.
They're all trust fund kids.
Yeah. Zentrum für Karriereverweigerung.
Yes. So they're against growth and career fetishism of neoliberal.
Well, okay, so that's
capitalism.
the thing. That doesn't make any sense. Like, what are you talking about? You're against a career. But in this very like narrow academic sense, they're like, we are against the like establishment of academia, which a lot of good reasons to be against the establishment of academia. Maybe you want to like put your theories into praxis. But no, they're not against academia for that reason. They're against academia because they prefer their Art Deco club style. They love like just sitting around reading Adorno, but they just want to do it in their own way. So that's why they reject the career of whatever, being a public intellectual.
It seems like they have the auspices of like anti-work. And like anti-work is, I think, a very legitimate aspect of the left, but usually most anti-work aspects of the left have the like plan or at least vision or the vague notion of how that is achieved. Like, you know, we institute socialism. Socialism actually drives for automating everything that's possible and everything that's desirable to be automated, while we can all just, you know, go around and paint and Twitch live stream or whatever the fuck.
Oh, that'd be so cool. I'm close work now.
But like,
go ahead.
They have this book. Sorry, I just want to say they have a book. German title, I don't know because I've Google translated the page already, so fuck it. But they have a book called "Cancel Everything: The Plea for a Lifelong General Strike."
I've been trying to cancel everything.
But like, an idea of the lifelong general strike just would not work as a transitory strategy.
Like, I'm so confused.
Oh my God. It's coming. Okay.
They're ultra leftists in such pathetic ways. It's like, one, they're not even good leftists to begin with, because we just very clearly, like, they're just like, they're enjoying all the fruits of neoliberal capitalism, as in being completely worthless and yet monetizing it somehow. And then the like weird trot take of like world revolution or whatever, protesting for the sake of protesting, which is very German, you know, like in the as we've seen with the eruption of protest, again, with no idea or goal in mind, but just then like, yep, it's against the Grundgesetz, and we have to be against that, even though I don't know. And then, but like the last thing of that too, that is just so funny to me, is like just like the massive, just like ultra leftist take of just like, which is also incredibly German and incredibly left wing, is just like being against everything because then you can also never be wrong, you know? And that's like, that's a purely German academic energy. You know, why do Germans like the Frankfurter Schule so much? Because they critiqued everything to the point that critique didn't make any sense anymore. You know, it's the purely most neoliberal, like, that's why neoliberals like the Frankfurter Schule so much, because it allows them to exist within the frames of neoliberalism quite well, because it's just like, see, you can critique the system while being within the system, because the Frankfurter Schule were so against revolution and they were so against the Soviet style of socialism. So it is like it is a weird, I hate to use the fucking word, you know, here we are using the word dialectics here. But
I'm officially a dialectical person.
I saw your new photo on Twitter. It proves it. But it is,
well, no one explained it to me. And it's being able to suck your own dick. That's dialectics.
That's exactly what this is, though, right here. Like, it really is being able to just like, you get to like sit back and critique capitalism while then like doing literally nothing about it, and then calling to then be against everything is then also then you having to not do anything. You know, like it's so German that it's just it's perfect. They have found the perfect ideology.
I honestly feel like we're having some brain blasts here. Kieran, you said this right before we started recording. This is the German Spiked online.
Yeah. I feel like this has to turn into this at some point.
Well,
I'm hoping
in the same way that Spiked is tinged by the specific history of the left in England, Trotsky is sex, blah blah blah, all this. This is tinged by the left in Germany, especially West Germany, with this strange like kind of, I don't even know what to call it, because okay, so one thing, they call themselves experts on everyday life, which reminds me a lot of what the Situationists were writing about. And I am a huge Guy Debord fan, but the Germans constantly just pretend like he just said you can have fun and do fun things and do art, and that's what's cool. Which just like it's like nails on the chalkboard in my brain. But that's exactly who these people are. Like all the people in the 60s who were like, I see this revolutionary energy, but what if we just like lived in Kommune 1 and didn't do that? I don't want to paint with too broad a brush, but like that tendency is that like they captured perfectly. Yeah,
it's the purest German ideology. If only Marx could have written about it then, instead of when he was writing about Hegel.
So anyway, so they are behind the protest in front of the Volksbühne. Now, this opens an interesting question. We know that the right-wing protests in the U.S., for example, and in other countries are high. I mean, they're astroturf funded by the right, blown up by right-wing media, and kind of turned into the center of conversation. What's happening with House Bartleby? I don't know. I mean, if they're the German Spiked, I don't know what that means. But they are, so this week, as in yesterday, when I went, there were a lot more people handing out like the Demokratische Widerstand little newspaper, which I have here somewhere. I don't know where I put it. So they had more of like a presence. The week before, I would say they were much smaller. And it seems like people, I don't know how they got the word out for these other people to come, whether like people are like, okay, this is the protest to go to, I'm going to go here.
It was through Nazi Discord channels, obviously.
I mean, maybe. But you get into the question of like how to protest, right? Like, okay, like let's take, all right, let's be dialectical in the way that these people are not being dialectical.
Okay.
So you have these people who are against everything. And if they represent the purest form of like protest for the sake of protest, how do you, if you want to protest as a means to an end, because you fucking have a way of looking at the world and you're not just protesting for the sake of protesting, like how do you relate to that energy? You know what I mean? Which is why I wanted to go to these protests in particular, because as much as they are like dominated by the right wing, like, and as much as it's a way of, like training all of the attention on this particular kind of protest so that other kinds of protests like don't get attention. And they're like, yeah, the only people who are resisting are these people. As much as labor actions that are like slowly like coming up. And I mean, like there were a bunch of walkouts and strikes yesterday in the US on May Day. There are like that stuff isn't going to be reported on. I mean, just by the nature of the media, like that's not their, that's why would they do that? And like, even if you are working, you might not even know like about what's going on in something like even somewhat related to you. Like these things kind of come up out of nowhere. All of that said, there's still, if there's any value in the idea of like seizing a public place and making a public protest, maybe there isn't. Maybe that stuff has been proven to be like mostly meaningless. It's not material. It's not rooted in labor actions. I would say probably not.
There's, what is it? Like Nick Cernick literally has a whole thing exactly about that, about how it's like maybe protest is completely useless. Just a little side note. And he's a post-work Marxist too, which is also quite interesting how those fit together.
So I would say these guys, like, it's almost fitting that they are capturing, at least in Berlin. I know there's protests in other parts of Germany. I don't know how coordinated they all are. I would say these guys are at least capturing that, like, this is what matters, and almost like demonstrating, like, this is what, like, I don't know, protesting against, like, a public protest, like, not rooted in work, but just, like, in the public sphere. Yeah. Like, this is what it looks like to coronavirus. And, like, the fact that it is dominated by the right, I would say, is a problem.
Yeah, well, because and maybe this is just because it's like my American perspective at it, but the only way that you can look at this is through hyper-individualism, which is a right-wing tenet for the most part. Because even like the individualism of anarchism, that then's a little bit more so than like other.
Yeah, it's not.
It's still in the sense of like collective action and whatnot. Yep. You know, it's not like this is just vulgar liberalism at its core. Which is selfishness, and you know, there's no other way of putting it. Like you can't have it be anything else but a right wing, quasi-fascist take, because that is the core of those ideologies.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So going into like an actual protest on this stuff, I did want to kind of shout out one thing that was happening that I'm seeing some media coverage of, but not a huge amount. I posted it on Twitter, but like, sure, fuck it. And I'm going to bring it up again. But like, for anyone who hasn't seen Villeneuve-la-Garenne, I wish Yulia was here to pronounce this correctly. A banlieue in France has been really, really kicking off in terms of protests. So like, France has been in like a, 1 year of uninterrupted yellow vest protests, and like then there was like about 4 months of general strikes before the lockdown happened. And very cynical people, including myself, pointed out that like France locked down pretty early, and that was probably the incentive for the government to do so. There was protests happening, very, very big ones. But like none of that anger has gone away, and it's very just. And it's only getting worse now because France is now technically in a recession, and a very, very bad one at that. So this banlieue in France has like started attacking the police. They're like routinely for I think almost a week now have been like just throwing around fireworks at police cars, burning cars and shit like that. This all started because a cyclist was attacked by the police. It was cycling down the road. The police kind of like opened the door so that he crashed into it and then arrested him. And everyone who filmed that situation was like, you attacked him on purpose. Like the opening of the car door wasn't like an accident. You opened it to hit the guy. And that has kind of like been the straw that broke the camel's back, because I saw this one interview on Euronews with someone who lived in the neighborhood who was talking about how there was this young kid in the building next to him was shot at the police 8 times for like not providing ID. And this is all with the backdrop of like various neighborhoods like this one are now becoming way more dependent on like food banks as they've all lost their jobs. And that whole situation is getting very, very tense. And one last little grievance is that every time I fucking watched a clip of this, French media had to put a trap beat underneath it. I don't know why.
Why?
Well, I do know why. It's racialized, but still. But yeah, that's a kind of like very legit protest, and like almost a continuation of all the protests that were happening beforehand in France. And I think Rob said it. I'm not sure if we were recording when he said it, but like you asked about like the protests happening in, Chile, and there was also stuff in Lebanon before the lockdown, but now also during the lockdown.
Yeah, because they have. A lot of the. I think Lebanon's a good example because I don't remember all of it off the top of my head, but like the problems of Lebanon, like they defaulting on their debt, and they've there was an agreement, I forget what exactly, but like those problems aren't unique to that country. I mean, it's more extreme, which is what led to the protests last year, which is what led to why there's like something starting again now. But like that's an example of like those forces that were like went away, co-opted, crushed in late 2019. Like the problems have just got worse, especially under coronavirus.
Yeah, and they're going to get worse when the like full effects of this giant global recession are felt. So,
it's already.
fun.
I mean, it's already. What is it? I read an article this morning too that then like of how Greece is already projected to have a worse recession than 2008, which is great for that country.
Yeah, the FT was reporting that like Spain, Italy, and France have seen like this quarter just gone. The first 3 months of 2020 had seen like the largest shrink ever like recorded on those 3 economies.
The people like the amount of people who have applied for unemployment in Berlin is like also like quadrupled from last year's numbers. So.
So I think there is like one aspect of this though, which is the kind of like slow feeling of it though, because there's this kind of like lockdown and quarantine stuff happening in a lot of these countries. I think there's this kind of sense in a lot of people's mind that okay, once the quarantine's lifted, then it's back to normal.
Yeah.
And like all this stuff that you're hearing about the economy is just a part of that. And it will go away once the quarantine's done.
So there's a good historical example of this that you see within like market economies after World War II. Because remember, you're like total war affects the economy kind of in a similar way if you look at it that way. So from 1945 into the 1950s, the United States was like approaching like it wasn't hyperinflation, but they had a massive thing to couple with they had a massive problem of dealing with their inflation because you literally just had to like halt the economy for the war effort. And then because a market economy that needs to react to these, the things of when you open up the economy again, whether it be for war or you open up the economy during a, Corona crisis or whatever it is, like the UK was in rationing longer than the Soviet Union was because of this economic downturn. So it's gonna it is kind of like a funny paradox of markets, so that the markets react quickly. However, in an example like this, it's gonna be the complete opposite. It may be a year, or a few months. It could be a year. It could go on for another decade. We just necessarily don't know. Because I don't think, like you just said, the economy's never contracted this quickly in such a short amount of time. So, and anyone who's coming out saying that then even if we just go back to normal, the economy will get back to normal is just a fucking idiot as well, because it won't. We are in again, we're going to end up on the other side of coronavirus in a different times, and it does like what it means. Anyone who tells you that they know what's going to come out of it's a fucking idiot and a huckster and trying to sell you something that's bullshit. You know.
Except after coronavirus, you can expect more great content from us.
Well, yes, of course, absolutely. Everyone except for us is lying to you once again.
Yeah.
Also,
original
just
thesis.
on a complete other note before we leave of just how cool markets are. I love how Elon Musk tweeted Tesla stocks into like just dropping yesterday.
Beautiful system.
Fucking king. So cool.
Well, like
he also tweeted, "My girlfriend Grimes is mad at me."
I mean, he's just. I gotta love that like pure free energy on your Twitter account of just like, tweet anything. What's a drafts folder? Fuck this.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I love the market solutions that are coming out, particularly the drive-through strip club that's now in Portland, Oregon.
Oh, the one that then the photos looked like something from fucking Blade Runner.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, that was kind of cool. Like,
oh yeah, no, absolutely. I'm just
the photos were cool, not the drive-through strip club. That's dumb.
Like this fucking what is it? Like Honda Cherokee driving slowly through like dry ice and topless women wearing gas masks. What a world we live in.
Sick.
One thing I want to say before we just back on the protest stuff is that I think it's worth. I would even say that the society is like it's like the way it's reconstituting itself after coronavirus. Coronavirus has changed fundamentally, like the relationship to public space, right? Like how you be around people. There's no more mass gatherings for indefinitely. It is changing that, and protest, the like form of protest, again, this like societal general protest rather than specific labor actions, was already, was already in crisis, I guess you could say. I don't want to overstate it, but like that. And so this shock is like, we have to understand like what what changes are going to happen, like what kind of protests are going to be allowed, how it's going to relate to like changing, police state, which we've talked about on the show. You can wear masks now. You're allowed to. That's cool, at least. But like, that is the question. And I think that as a dialectical counterpoint, the folk spirit of protests are kind of fascinating. I still don't know how to relate to them. I'm still like, why are you all here? Everyone just kind of comes in.
You're not going to relate to them, Rob. You're not German. I mean that seriously. You're not.
I'm trying to be.
You can try as hard as you can. It's the sense that then you will never understand this German mindset. You could live here for 40 years and there's like this like weird like white man's burden that Germans have, and this is just like it's unique to this country, and it's unique especially to like younger generations, and we just see it like act out in different ways. Like anti-Deutsch you can't explain to anyone, nor can you become anti-Deutsch unless you're German, you know. Like anyone who's anti-Deutsch and isn't German or from Germany is just, they're just.
Can you really hate Germany as much as a German?
No, exactly. Yeah, really. Like it is just like it is this bizarre thing of just that. Like I know that you want to find your headspace and you want to find like how does this relate to me, and I just have to unfortunately break it to you that it never will. You can never fully become German, Rob. I'm so sorry.
Well, all I wanted to say is that online spaces. Are definitely part of the shifting sphere of protest. All of the arguments about how like online activism is meaningless can kind of be applied to occupying space activism in the age of like march from point A to point B with police, escort. So I definitely think it's worth considering the two hand in hand as the new terrains of contemporary protest.
Yeah.
All right. And on that note, I think we can bring up another thing to do with online spaces, which is we We got a new website. Bit of a plug here. Yeah. So thanks for listening again this week.
Again, the website, operationglad.io.
Yes.
Like the Americans, we mean it ironically. It's like a Nazi sign. It's ironic.
Yes, we just want to make everyone happy with our funny left-wing European content.
Maybe the Americans are like that too. Like, because we're just like, hey, you should Google Operation Gladio. They're like, yo, you should Google this Hitler guy.
I mean, I think
exactly
like
what Nancy Pelosi's doing.
I think like I mean that was my earlier theory about the Michigan protests. It's just a bunch of people trying to get viral on TikTok.
It's like the fucking
night.
Candace Owens thing is that like if you ever listen to Candace Owens long enough, you realize that like what she just really deeply wants to say is that she likes Hitler.
Yeah.
But she's always like, Hitler was good for Germany at that time, but he did some bad things. And that's like always, that has been her like go-to take for the past like 3 years. Yeah. And she's just like waiting to finally be like, oh, we're finally here. I can finally say it. Adolf Hitler was good. Damn it. Someone's going to actually take that fucking cut clip of mine. They're going to fucking put that everywhere on the internet now.
Well, yeah, what was it like? Her clip that was like the problem was when Hitler started doing things outside.
Yeah,
of Germany,
exactly.
And then later that evening, she's just like, Google, what is Stumpelstein?
Well, that's what she gets you. Technically, the whole world is Germany.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can't do any bad things outside Germany.
I see. But anyway, yes, operationglad.io.
Yeah, Candace Owens has like she's had the same tweet saved in her draft folder for the past like 3 years, and it's just like Hitler, low key, kind of nice with it. Just waiting to send it. She hovers over it every night, thinking, "No, not tonight."
Yeah, she saw the fucking protest in Michigan. And was like, is it now? Like, is it tight?
She's got like one of those like if this then that kind of like automation things set up that when her like Fitbit tracks her heart pulse is 0, it'll tweet. It's like, well, yeah, we all got that right. The death tweet that gets sent out. All right. Well, it's been another week of a Corner Späti. Next week we'll be back again to talk about something equally insane and stupid, I'm sure. Just, thanks for listening. I love all your beautiful people. Oh, also, I should mention this because I haven't mentioned it in a while. The theme song to the show is New Dawn by Melty Brains. It's a bop. You should check them out on Spotify, wherever you find music. Melty Brains.
Both the phrase "melty brains" and the phrase "new dawn" become more and more relevant as this podcast goes on.
D-O-N, new D-O-N, short for Donald.
Oh. Yeah, I'm the new dawn. I'm the Don Perignon of fucking Berlin protest, baby.
Lebanese Sopranos. Lebanese Sopranos. It was the bit that we never got to do.
I'm cutting that out because we're saving it for next week.
Okay.
Nice.
All right.
I'll come up with some more things.
All right, cool. All right, see you guys.
Ciao.
Bye.